Dry fire, you need to do it. Like, you need to do it. So I've trained over 4,000 people at this point. Yeah. And I can tell who's dry firing and who isn't. Because the clients that I'm working with, when they come in and they're just everything smooth and we start working on different things, I'm like, how often are you dry firing? Oh man, you know, I'm doing like 5 minutes a day, just like you said, blah, blah, blah. And then the people who aren't dry firing, I'll know they're not dry firing and I'll still ask them, are you dry firing? No, I just don't feel like it. Oh, it's just, I'm not in the range. So then, yeah. And I'm not bashing on them because sometimes I don't do it. I try to do it pretty frequently. Even, you know, when I'm taking my gun off me at the end of the day, I'll draw my gun and present it and get an extra rep in. But what dry firing is it's all the manipulation of the gun. So clear gun, SIG P365, just the standard one. It's all the manipulation of the gun without making the gun go bang. That's it. Because when you think about it, when you're loading the gun, racking the slide, getting your grip, seeing your sights, and you're pressing the trigger without moving the sights, that's shooting. That's shooting. That's all the movement you're doing. The only thing after that, you know, that's 90% of it. The 10% after that is just the bang and controlling the gun under recoil and finding your sights again so you can do it again. That's it. But there's more to it than that. So when I'm working with people, what we start out doing, usually, it depends on the person. I kind of, you know, move stuff around depending on who they are, what they're trying to achieve, how much experience they have prior, stuff like that. Like I've, you know, worked with, you know, a military guy a couple weeks ago. I was like, okay, you know, we're gonna go through a little bit of light stuff and then get to the point because you already have experience. So I don't harp on it as much with everybody, but let's say you're a new client and you don't know anything about guns. What we're gonna do is we're going to, first of all, work on racking the slide. This is what gets people, and I get a lot of women who end up buying these trash guns. And it's because they're like, oh, well, I couldn't rack the slide, so I ended up buying this. I even had a woman who was like, oh, I have arthritis and my hands are weak. I'm not gonna be able to do it. I've tried it before with my husband. 5 minutes later, racking the slide like a boss, and you know, she was in her 60s. So what we wanna do is, we want to take our hand, and you have these slide serrations on the back. I don't start people out doing stuff from the business end of the gun up front. That's a little bit more advanced, and you don't have to do that all the time. That's more just for press checks. That's not really how I'm gonna rack the slide. I'm not gonna perform a tap rack procedure from the front. I'm gonna do it from the back. So I'm gonna take my hand, touch one side, and I'm going to reach over and grab the other side of the slide serrations. And it's a push and pull method. I'm taking this web of my hand, since I'm right-handed, and I'm pushing with this part of my hand. I'm also pulling with my left. So watch my hand right here. Watch my hand. See if my hand stays in place or if my right hand moves. You see how my right hand moved forward? People try to just muscle it with just their left hand. This is a two-handed motion. Watch my left hand. See if my left hand stays in place or is it gonna move? Left hand's up here. I'm pushing and pulling. Your slide is made of steel. You're not gonna break it. It's under more stress when the literal bomb explodes right in front of it. You racking it isn't gonna do anything. And when you rack it, you want to pull the slide back. This part right here, where the slide can no longer move. Once you get here, just let it go. You don't want to You don't want to help the slide go forward because you're going to induce a malfunction. Okay, whenever I am grabbing my slide, I'm being mean to it. I remember there's this guy named Bob Allen, who's, you know, essentially John Wick in real life. And I remember he told me years ago, he was like, rack the slide like it owes you money. And that's true. Whenever my hand is coming on top of this slide, I'm racking it hard. So we practice a lot of that. You can do it. You can do it. I've seen, you know, I'm not gonna say I've seen all the people, but I've seen a lot of people. You know, I've seen a lot of people with different strengths. Some guns are easier to rack than others, but you can do it. The smaller you go, the typically the harder it gets to rack the slide. I'll work with people and, you know, racking a SIG P365 is a little bit more challenging than racking a Glock 17 or racking a, you know, FN 510 or something like that, the bigger gun. So once we get that and we've done grip, I'm not talking about grip because I have a whole video dedicated to grip. We usually do grip first and then talk about racking the slide. Then we're going to practice presenting the gun. And you can do this at home. This is all dry. All of this is considered dry fire. So I want to get my grip established and I want to find my dominant eye. I have another video on sight alignment and everything where I talk about how to find your dominant eye. So with me having iron sights here, I'm going to find my front sight aligned with my rear sight. I'm looking through here. If I have an optic, I'm just looking through the glass, both eyes are open. But if you're just beginning, like I'm left eye dominant, you can close one eye just to train your brain on how to see your front sight through the rear sight. You don't have to rush. I know a lot of people gonna be like, oh, but you know, you're at a tactical disadvantage because you can't see because you close your eye. Yeah, but shoot, man, you gotta learn how to see it first. So just go on and close your eye if you need to, see your front sight, and bring it back. Close your eye if you need to. We want to bring the gun up to our face. We don't want to go fishing. We don't want to go bowling. We want to bring the gun straight forward, but as I'm bringing it forward, I'm also just bringing it up to my eyes. I'm not coming down to the gun. I'm not tilting my head. I want to be upright in everything I do. When I pick up the gun, I'm upright in everything I do. I don't come to the gun, I bring the gun to me. It's a tool. I'm in control here. So try that. You're just bringing the gun out nice and slow, closing your eye, boom. Bringing it back. I'll talk about bringing it back here in a second. Bringing the gun up, seeing it, boom. And you want to do it slow. What I notice is once people get it a couple times, they immediately want to, you know, send it out there. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. You don't know what you don't know, okay? Yeah, if anybody's heard of the Dunning-Kruger effect, in the beginning, you know, you're at the top of the mountain of confidence and ignorance. Because you're like, oh man, I got this, it's easy. I saw it in a movie once. And then, you know, once you start seeing how much you don't know, you get with somebody like me or another competent instructor, or, you know, you go to a shooting match or something like that and you're like, holy smokes, I didn't even know this was possible. All that confidence falls into the abyss. And then over time you gain more confidence because you gain more skill, and it just kind of tapers off, but you never get back to that mountaintop of confidence because you now know that there's so much more to learn. And people want to just rush through it. You want to take the dry fire time to focus and be mentally present with what you're doing. I feel that my grip is good. I see my sights. I just brought the gun up to me. I didn't have to fish for it. But if you do in the beginning, that's okay. But you want to start to, let's say I didn't see it. Okay, I didn't see it, but I see my front sight, notch it down. Okay, I gotta work on that. Notch it down a little bit. There we go. Oh, that was over. You want to practice having the same presentation every time. So when you do press out fast, you see the sights. And you're going to see it more than you're not going to see it. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to practice picking the gun up. Because, once again, clear gun. You know, I got to say that for the trolls out there. Now, we don't want to pick the gun up like this. I'm going to put this magazine in here for now. Magazine's empty. We don't want to pick the gun up like this. And we don't want to pick the gun up like this. Absolutely not. We want to pick the gun up with our finger off the trigger. And as rudimentary as this might sound, you want to practice picking up the gun because this is what's going to make you look cool. It's 90% looking cool, 10% training. So when I pick up the gun, I want to pick it up and establish my right-handed grip. Just like that. There's no space here, no space here. I didn't get this. I picked the gun up and I established that right-handed grip. So if I have to go on and shoot, I can shoot. If I have to go on and bring the gun to me, I can bring it to me. And that's the biggest part for me. Whenever I pick up a gun, I never just pick up a gun and I'm like, hey guys, what are we doing? No, I'm not doing that. I pick the gun up and I bring it to me because this, first of all, I'm asserting dominance over the gun. It's a tool, I'm in control of the tool. Second of all, I have muzzle awareness. So let's say there's somebody who's standing right here. I have the gun here. I don't want to sweep that person. A lot of newbies do this. And even, you know, people who you think would have a lot of experience, they'll tend to do it also. And it doesn't matter who you are. You sweep me, we're going to have to talk about it. So you don't want to sweep the person because you don't want to point the barrel at them. Rule number 3, you don't want to point the gun at anything you're not willing to destroy. So with me knowing where the muzzle is, I can just, You see how I can just, come around the person. I point it down in between us so I don't sweep them. I don't know where this barrel is pointed if I just have the gun down. It could be pointed at me. I don't know. So I want to practice that. I just want to practice picking up the gun, bringing it to me. Next thing that I want to practice is picking it up, bringing it to me, racking the slide, and then getting my grip together. This is simulating if I'm coming up to the gun and I need to chamber around before I shoot it. I want that movement to be comfortable. So I'm gonna pick it up, rack it, get my grip, see my sights. Then I'm gonna bring it back in. I want to practice, after I'm done seeing my sights, I want to practice bringing it back in to, you know, the compress ready, high compress ready, whatever, because I know where the gun is right here. You can also practice putting it down at the low ready, but I want to bring it back to some form of management, if that makes sense. I don't want to just put it down. If I had to shoot or didn't have to shoot, either way, once I'm done shooting, I want to bring the gun back to me so I can analyze what's going on. Start breaking that tunnel vision. Okay, so that's another thing. Now, you have magazines, and loading the magazine gets a little bit more intuitive the more you do it. So the back typically shows how many bullets the magazine will hold. Some magazines will have on the side, but either way, the front of the magazine is where you want your index finger. And the reason I want my index finger at the front of the magazine is because I'm going to be able to point and help guide the magazine into the frame of the gun. So when I'm doing that, what I see a lot of people do is they'll have the gun and then they'll turn upside down No. We don't even want to do this. I'll see this. That 1-2 action. You don't want to do any of that, and you don't want to definitely look down while you're doing it. I want to bring the gun up to my face. This is my workspace here. So when I have the gun, let's say I was shooting, boom, 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 I bring the gun back. I have my finger on my index finger on the front of the magazine, and I can watch it go in, and then I can come back out. I don't have to bring it down to me. I don't have to read the newspaper. Everything's up here in my workspace. Matter of fact, I'm gonna show you with another one. I have a 12 round mag and a 17 round. So let's say you're at home. I typically do this on the bed or over the bed because I don't wanna have to keep reaching down on the floor to pick up my magazines. But when you're practicing releasing the magazine, you can do it one of two ways. You can do it with your thumb and just push in on the magazine release and it comes out. Or you can do it with your support hand thumb and sweep your thumb down to the magazine release and it comes out that way too. Some people can't reach it with their thumb, so you can try to sweep. Either way, it's smooth. This guy named Rich, who I've spoken about in my videos before, just phenomenal instructor, phenomenal shooter. He does the sweep with his thumb and it's fast. It's all in what you practice. But let's say I have this 12 round here and I'm shooting boom, boom, boom. I'm going to, let's say gun's empty, I ran out of ammo. I'm going to practice being deliberate, bringing the gun back to me, dropping the magazine, grabbing the next one, putting it in, coming back out, okay? And you can just practice dropping it. Just drop, and then just run that over and over and over and over. And you can get better with your reloads. You'll start to be able to just instinctually know where the gun is and where your finger is pointed. Now, there are dummy rounds. So in this hand I have real bullets. In this hand I have fake bullets. You can buy like a pack of fake bullets for $6 or $7. They're very inexpensive. I can tell that this bullet is fake, first of all, because it's orange. So, you know, it's not brass or silver. Second of all, the back of it, this one's fallen out, but the back of it doesn't have a primer cup. Fake bullet, real bullet. Real bullet has a primer cup circle, which is gold or like brass. This one's rubber. So that's the second way I know about it. Third way I know that this is fake is it's lighter. Real bullets have weight because it has gunpowder in it. This has no weight. Now, that's not to say that all fake bullets don't have weight, because this one, you can see it has a little bit of red left. This tip was initially red, but this one is weighted to help simulate the weight of a real bullet. But with it being red and having rubber on the back, I can tell that it's a fake bullet. You always want to check, double check, triple check. Checks are still free. I haven't said that in a while, but checks are always free before you start loading fake bullets into your gun. Fake bullets don't do anything. So if I have a fake bullet in here, yep, it's fake. Nothing happens. Nothing happens, nobody dies. But you can practice loading. Loading is dry fire. So when you're loading a magazine, different magazines from different companies have a different hardness level. I don't know, I'm blanking on the word, but either way, they all have this little narrow funnel right here. You can't put the bullet on top of the narrow funnel. You have to push down in front of the funnel, all the way down, and then slide it back. Now, to get the second one in there, it gets a little slippery. So this is what I do. Everybody, you know, I look at people's thumbs when they're loading magazines. Everybody has their own thing. Find your thing. My thing is I take my thumb and I push down. I go in and push down to give me leverage. Then I touch the next bullet to my thumb, and then I push straight down. You see how my thumb is on top? And then I slide it back. People will do this. They'll have their fingers on the side and they'll be trying to push it, and that bullet will keep coming through their fingers. So I put my thumb on top so the bullet can't go anywhere. I'm already pushing down with this one. Come on top, push down, slide back. Loading gets easier, but it never gets fun. So whenever you're gonna do a class where you're shooting 200-300 rounds, you might wanna get an up-lula speed loader or something like that. But bullets can help. You can also simulate clearing malfunctions, which is also dry fire. So let's say I have, you know, these 2 bullets in here. Always checking my gun, always. All right, so I'm gonna load these 2 fake bullets. I'm also going to get the rep of practicing racking the slide. So now it's in there, so I can find my sights, press the trigger. Oh wow, nothing happened. I was expecting bang, but I got click. So I need to perform a tap rack. You perform a tap rack because maybe your thumb pushed, or your support hand pushed the magazine out, so it didn't feed the next bullet. Who knows? But you want to make sure that the magazine is fully seated, so I'm going to tap the magazine, make sure it's fully seated, rack the slide. You see how the bullet ejects? Now it automatically loads the second bullet in line. And then you would bang. You know, tap, rack, bang. Notice how I didn't have to, in order to perform a tap rack, I didn't have to point the gun at anybody or anything else. The gun is still pointed in the safe direction, or, you know, down range if you were practicing this at a shooting range. So all of these things you can practice dry. You can also practice little stuff. Let's say you're right-handed. All right, I haven't practiced shooting left-handed, but the gun is oriented where I have to flip it over. Just flip it over, pick it up. Look smooth. Instead of, whoo, man, that makes me nervous. That makes me nervous. I'm looking at that finger off that trigger like, oh, boy, don't press that trigger. And I always show people, if I see that, I try to catch it ahead of time and just tell them, hey, you know, just turn the gun over, grab it, and you're good to go. But sometimes I forget, because it's a lot. You know, I tell people when I first meet them, if they're new, I'm gonna do all this talking, we're gonna be here for a couple hours, and then you're gonna know like 2% of everything you need to know. Everything you need to know. I'm still learning myself. I learn every day. So the last portion is drawing. So I have videos where I'm talking about drawing from concealment, drawing from appendix, and drawing from an outside the waistband holster. Go watch those because you can practice all that movement dry at home. But you can also practice walking or moving. Just getting comfortable moving around. You can do, you know, some kind of, you know, salsa dance or whatever. I was about to try to do one. I don't know how to salsa. I was going to take salsa classes in 2020, but we all know how that worked out for everybody. So, but you can just practice moving. Just practice moving, practice not standing still. You don't have to be moving through your house all tactical. You're just not standing still and you're seeing your sights. I even had somebody do that in the bay before I introduced them to moving through the range. And he said it helped. So, you know, that's what we're shooting for. You want 5 minutes of dry fire. People say, oh man, I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna dry fire for 30 minutes. No, you're not. Stop lying, don't lie to me, lie to yourself, but don't lie to me. You're going to end up watching, you know, Scooby-Doo or something, and you're going to get distracted, and it's just going to turn into, you know, a bunch of, you're not gonna pay attention anymore. So I got this from Dakota, who I talked about in the anticipation video, 5 minutes. Because when I thought about it, it made sense. When people tell me stuff, I consider it. I'm a logical person, I operate under logic, reasoning, and understanding at all times. If it makes sense, then I'm like, yeah, okay, I don't mind adopting that. You're gonna be engaged for 5 minutes. After that, you're gonna gas out. So don't overdo it. 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes a few times a week is gonna keep your skills up. So then when you go to the range and you shoot real bullets, all you have to now work on is managing that recoil and following through, pressing the trigger again without moving your sights so you can get good follow-up shots. So that's dry fire. Hope y'all got a lot of value from that. Everybody should dry fire more, me included. There's never enough dry fire that you can do. And I hope you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Costs you nothing to do so. And I'll see you on the next one. Roll mine.